Hi, this is Michael Neuendorff of buildandbalance.com. I'd like to welcome you to Sales Training Back to Basics Part 2B. I want to check with you to make sure that you've seen Part 1 of this series and Part 2A, because we're going to be building off of those classes in this class. In this video, let's cover these items. We're going to start with, where does your process need help? Because like it or not, you're not going to be strong at every step in the process. There are going to be certain steps where, well, you've got a little bump in the road. And I'd like to talk about that and ensure that you have what you need to improve so that your process is smooth and effective. And then we'll wrap it up for today's class. All right, let's talk process. If you have your weekly plan structured, you've got your 3 wins document all filled out, ready to go. You've got your pitch solidified. Now it's time to engage with a prospect or a customer that you're trying to resell and walk them through a process. When you have a process, you're much more effective. You are more likely to succeed because people that wing the sales process generally don't measure, they don't refine, and they don't lead the process because they're not sure where it's going. They let the prospect lead them. I don't want that to be you. I want you to follow a proven process, time in and time out, so that you can get more sales. So instead of going through my 13-step sales process, I have to leave something for my paid clients, right? I can't give you everything. I'm going to give you just some of the highlights of my process. But I'm telling you, these are the crucial steps in the process. So I'm really giving you some important content here that I really want you to pay attention to and make sure that you nail down in order to be more successful. The first thing, and this is so critical, is you have to qualify. You qualify by understanding who is your target market. I qualify by determining that you are 0 to 5 years in your sales career. And 2, you have a willingness to learn and be coached. And 3, you have funds to invest for a coach and a trainer. And 4, you're willing to invest over a period of time. Not a one and done session, but over time. My best clients succeed by working with me for months and sometimes even years. Coaching takes time. Training can happen in a single day. And of course you can get results from training. But coaching takes longer because we go after embedded behaviors, right? So that's why I say that part of my ideal client, one of their qualification criteria is that they're willing to invest over a period of time. So that's my qualification criteria. What's yours? Write down your ideal client profile and then have the courage to take people through a series of questions, or when you're evaluating them for a cold reach out, you're evaluating whether they are qualified to do business with you. So before you ever reach someone, qualify them, because that will save you time. Winning salespeople qualify relentlessly, and they're ruthless as to who they want to do business with, because they know that by rooting people out of their process, that makes time for new people who are truly qualified to do business with them. Okay, so that's the first step that I want to share with you. The next step is prepare for every single meeting that you have with a qualified prospect. Because once you stop taking meetings with people who aren't qualified, every meeting matters. There's no rehearsal. Every meeting matters, and you want to prepare for it. Research the prospect. Understand the company. What are their priorities? What is the company seeking to achieve in the year ahead? You can find this out by reading press releases, reading their mission statement, reading some of the plans that they have, if there are any news stories on the company, reading the LinkedIn profile and posts of the person you're going to be meeting with. Google that person's name. Do all kinds of research to understand the person and the company that they represent. Prepare for the meeting by making sure you have all your materials. Rehearse your pitch. Make sure that you're ready for any possible objections that might come your way. Make sure that you have any case studies or proof, which we're going to get to, so that you are ready no matter what comes up in that meeting. Prepare, 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 and then when the meeting happens, You will be confident and you'll be ready to take a person through the process and most likely come out a winner on the other end. Once you have gotten into the process and preparation, you'll realize that it's all worthwhile because you're no longer spending time with unqualified prospects. Just agree to never do this anymore. Now you're actually meeting with the prospect. Build rapport. Rapport is that intangible that helps to accelerate a relationship. It helps to accelerate sales. Rapport is achieved differently with different types of people. Through my research, through my work with clients, I have uncovered that there are different types of prospects, and there is a magical process to learn about these different types of prospects and to establish rapport with them more quickly. That process is based on DISC. DISC stands for the 4 quadrants that you see around the circle. You see the DISC in the circle on the slide. The D style is the dominant style. These are the people who actually want to lead you through the sales process. They're the people that try to cut your presentation short. They're the people that ask you the really tough questions right from the get-go. They're the people that bluntly ask, are you telling me the truth? Is this really going to work for me? You're not just exaggerating these results, are you? Do you have customers I can talk to? They will ask you the tough questions and they will put you on the spot. If you're not prepared, you will get blindsided by these tough questions from D-style personalities. There is a way to establish rapport with a D-style personality, and I'll give you one clue on that right now, and that is be willing to be tough with them. If you don't necessarily have that tough kind of aggressive personality, adopt that personality with them, because when they see that you're confident and assertive, then they respect that, they appreciate that. And of course you have to have the backup behind it. I mean, you can't just be confident and assertive and not be prepared, right? So if you follow my other tips, then you can be confident and assertive with a D-style personality, and that will establish rapport with a D. Second clue on Ds, don't waste a lot of time on chit-chat. They don't necessarily want to know you as a person and understand what your favorite restaurants are in the area or what you did over the weekend. They don't care about that stuff. Establishing rapport with a D is getting right to business. If you show them that you're business-minded and results-oriented, you will establish rapport with a D. It's a little bit different than with the I. As we go around the circle to the I quadrant, this is the influencer quadrant. I's like to be the center of attention. They like to be the first people that get something new. Establishing rapport with an I is being animated, enthusiastic, excited about your product. Of course, you need to genuinely believe that your product has virtue and merits and can achieve results for the client. I don't want you to make stuff up, but what I do want you to do with an I is be more animated, be more enthusiastic. They will draw from your energy, and when they feel that positive energy coming from you, they're going to get more excited and more elevated and more enthusiastic about investing in your product. So I's like to know high-level features, exciting features of the product. Normally we talk about benefits, but they get excited about some features too. And of course they want to hear about benefits for them, especially benefits that make them look good. So to establish rapport with an I, be enthusiastic. Take some time for chit-chat. Isn't that interesting? I's are very different from D's in that regard. They're going to want to know what you did over the weekend. They would appreciate a restaurant recommendation, this secret spot that you've uncovered that you find is excellent and priced right. I's like to know secrets. So if you have something to reveal to them like that, that will establish rapport. And be friendly. Make good eye contact, smile, have a warm handshake. That will establish rapport with an I. Let's keep going around the circle. S stands for steadiness. These are people that are generally cautious, and they also are a little reflective. They're warm and they are friendly, but they're not as animated as the I's. But they're very interested in knowing that you're dependable, you're loyal, and you can be counted on. With these people, to establish rapport, you're going to take some time to get to know them personally. You may share some details such as, Are you married? How old are your children? Where do they go to school? Take a personal interest in them. You know the old technique about looking for something on the wall of your prospect and talking about that? Well, that technique works with S's. They like to talk about themselves and they'll want to talk with you. They want to get to know you because they are the type that form long-term relationships. If they can trust you and depend on you, you could have a lifelong customer with an S. How do you develop rapport with an S? Take a personal interest. Share some details about yourself. And show that you can be trusted. Be very genuine, be authentic, and don't push. S prospects especially don't like being pushed, which is the opposite of the D. I told you that one way to establish rapport with a D is to be confident, be assertive, push a little bit. Ds respect that. S's will actually pull back from your pushing, so be careful about that. Now let's look at the last quadrant, the C type. The C type stands for conscientious. This is a person who often can work for hours at a time on their own. They tend to be perfectionists. They like to have every little detail sewn up. They will ask lots and lots of questions about your product or service. And they will respect you if you can answer all those questions and not make stuff up. You want to be fully prepared to meet with a C. Be over-prepared to meet with a C. And be patient. To establish rapport with a C, have all the answers to their questions or promise to get them for them as soon as possible and really follow through. And be detail-oriented. Don't be late for an appointment with a C. If you are, that's going to break rapport. Another way to establish rapport with a C, talk in detail about your product or service and give them lots of time to ask all the questions that they'd like and act interested in answering their questions. Don't ever get short with a C. And don't pry about their personal life. C's aren't the type that want to talk a lot about their personal life, so establish rapport. Be detail-oriented, answer all their questions, and be confident that you can answer those questions and have all the information that they'd like to hear. And follow up quickly and thoroughly. That will establish rapport with a C. So I've walked you through the 4 personalities that tend to be the ones that you're going to sell to. There are combination types of these 4, and there are some nuances associated with the combination types. But you've learned a lot already just in this short period that I've walked you through the disc. But what about you? What's your disc style? Because what your disc style is will dictate how you go in and initially act with the prospect. And if you don't know your disc style, you're probably selling according to a certain style and you're not even sure exactly how that meshes with the style of the prospect. So perhaps you'd like to know your disc style. It can be very helpful. The DISC report that I provide to clients actually gives information about your DISC style, what are your strengths and challenges in association with your DISC style and how you sell, and also how to read other people. There's a process to read prospects. What is that process? It's in the report. And how do you work with the different personality types? What are their buying signals? And what motivates them to buy? Wouldn't you love to know that? Well, then perhaps you'd like to have a DISC report. If you want a report, then contact me. I'm not going to give this to you for free. Unfortunately, I can't do that. This is something that you would have to invest in. But this is something that we can do regardless of where you are in the world. I can send you an online link to take the DISC assessment. And then after you take that assessment, then we would have a Skype call and I would walk you through the report. In about 1 hour, we would go through your personalized report that you will be able to use again and again to improve your selling. This is a worthwhile investment. I'm not going to actually tell you the cost right now because this video may still be relevant and watched a year from now, even 2 years from now, as part 1. Therefore, I reserve the right to establish the pricing based on when you actually contact me. But I can tell you it's well worth it. So contact me at michaelandbuildandbalance.com if you have more questions about the DISC and how it can help you, or if you'd like to invest in a DISC assessment. And of course, if you are local and you'd like to have a DISC training event For a team, I'd be happy to do that for you. You can do a half-day training or a full-day training to walk through the DISC sales profile. I am located in the San Francisco Bay Area. So now that you've established rapport with the prospect, it's time to qualify again. Because you did the pre-qualification criteria, right? You looked at them, you researched about them and their company and so forth, and so you qualified them as a prospect. But that doesn't mean that your qualification process is over. Now that you're meeting them and you're asking them questions and learning about them, you're qualifying them again. There are 5 specific criteria that need to be matched in order to have a hot prospect. Would you like to know what those 5 are? Well, good. Then I have them for you. It's called MADFU. MADFU is the acronym that stands for a very qualified prospect. The M stands for money. They have to have money. I mean, this is obvious, right? I mean, if you're selling something and they don't have budget, well, then they're not a qualified prospect. They might still be worth spending some time with, and you would put them into a follow-up file for follow-up 3-6 months from now, maybe even a year from now. But the point is they have to have some budget. After that is A for authority. Authority means they have the ability to make a decision. Can they make the decision to buy what you're selling? Oftentimes, we're meeting with someone who is an influencer. They are a recommender. They don't actually have purchasing authority. When you're working with someone like that, then you want to get to the authority figure as quickly as possible. And you want to meet with that person or that group of people, because when you're meeting with an influencer and you're leaving the meeting never having talked with the authority figure, now you're relying on that influencer to do the selling for you. Is that effective? No. Generally, it's not effective to have a person selling for you to the authority figure. So I recommend that you meet with that person, at least for a few minutes, to share your pitch and explain why you're the best person to do business with. All right, so that's authority. D is desire. It's great that they have budget. It's great that they can make the decision. Do they want your product or service? Is there a desire there? Is that desire emotional? Because if it's emotional, they are excited to do business with you. They are worked up. Desire is a great qualification criteria. After desire is fit. When we try to sell a prospect something that's not really right for them, it doesn't really match up with their problem, then this can create problems for us later on. They can come back to us and say, we'd like to return the product. It didn't do what we thought it would do. They may not give you referrals or act as a reference for you because the fit, well, it wasn't exactly there. It solved some of their problems, but not all their problems, and so they weren't over the top thrilled with your product or service. Fit is very important, and the more successful you become, the more you realize that part of qualification is turning down some prospects. Even though they have budget, they have authority, they have the desire, it's just not right for them. So don't sell things to people that aren't right for their situation. You'll maintain your integrity and create more sales down the road. And of course, the last thing is urgency. Is there a level of urgency? Do they want to do this now? Or do they want to do it within the next 30 days? We need to have urgency in our prospects' hearts. When we have urgency paired with the other aspects of MADFU, we have a highly qualified prospect. And so be willing to hold your prospects to these qualification criteria. When you're this strict, you will set yourself apart from the average salesperson by a mile. And you will find that your time is being spent wisely and efficiently, and you will make more sales. But there is more. Another step in the process, of course, is asking great questions, uncovering needs. The questions you ask are critical to figuring out not only are they qualified, but why are they qualified? Where is that desire coming from? What are the problems that they have? How can we solve those problems with what we have to offer? Ask great questions. And the way that I take people through this process in a group workshop is I have them write down what are the questions that they want to ask. And you can do this yourself. Do this on your own. Write down the questions that you have that you would ask a prospect. Run those questions by your teammates. Run those questions by your manager. How are they compared to the questions that your peers are asking? Are these compelling questions? Are they open-ended questions that get your prospect to talk? We don't want to ask a lot of closed-ended questions that get yes or no answers, because that forces us to do more of the talking. We want the prospect to do more of the talking. The more they talk, the more we learn, the better we listen to uncover true needs. How many needs do you think are required in order to close a sale? I often hear one or unlimited. Shouldn't we ask questions and to get an unlimited number of needs? Well, no, because people will tire of your questions at some point, especially if they are a D customer or an I customer. I likes to keep things moving at a fast pace. So if you ask too many questions, you're going to wear them out. My formula is 3. It's 3 needs. The reason is if you have one need and it turns out that that one need is not that solid, they could wriggle off the hook. They might not actually go through to close and commitment if there's only one need established. So rookie salespeople often make this mistake of establishing just one need and trying to make the sale after that. Don't be that rookie salesperson. Push for a second, and then if you can, even get a third. And try to have one of those 3 needs as an emotional need. When there's an emotion there, then you will be able to get that prospect to have greater urgency and greater desire for what you're offering. After this, chances are you're going to get objections because you're moving through the process and you make an offer to the prospect of your solution. This is when you're going to get objections. An expert's way of looking at objections is to understand what they're likely to be and actually address common objections up front. Weave objection handling into your conversation even before they ever come up. For example, if your offering is at the high end and many prospects consider your high-end solution to be somewhat expensive, well then you could address that early on in the process by saying, look, I need to understand one thing here. Have you done a little research on our company? And they'll say, yes, yeah, I've checked you out. And you understand that we're a high-end offering. And the reason that we've positioned ourselves as a high-end offering is because we believe that service matters. And we have invested a ton into service behind the sale. We've also put more into research and development than 9 out of 10 of our competitors. This is why we feel confident that our high-end offering is worth the investment that we ask. How does that sit with you? See, by positioning yourself as being very confident about your pricing, that gets that objection off the table, or at least you've pre-addressed it. If that objection comes up later, you can say, recall when I mentioned earlier about the fact that we have a high-end offering because we invest more into R&D than 9 out of 10 of our competitors. We also have excellent service that's 24/7. And our competitors actually go to a knowledge forum for support after 5 o'clock Eastern. Would that work for you? So consider this as an expert's technique of dealing with objections. But there's more to dealing with objections. I also recommend that you brainstorm with a team about what are top objections and write those down and practice on each other answering the objections so that you start to feel better and better about the different types of objections that you're likely to get. And you can become a master at handling objections. I never want you to get to the point where you sound totally rehearsed, but I do want you to get to the point where you sound totally confident and able to handle any objection that comes your way. After this, provide proof. Provide proof. This is a key part of objection handling. They go hand in hand because one of the objections that they might not state, but they're thinking inside is, can I rely on you? Can I rely on your company? Have you answered this problem before? Have you dealt with companies like mine in my industry? Proof addresses those stated or unstated concerns. And there are a variety of forms of proof that I would like you to have at the ready. Let's take a look at a list. Top forms of proof. These aren't necessarily in some hierarchical order, but they're all important. One is case studies. Do you have written case studies, either in printed form or on your website, that prospects can readily access and read through? Case studies are an excellent way to establish credibility of your solution. If you don't have any, just work on the first one. Go to your most successful customer and ask them if they'd be willing to spend time with you writing out a case study. If you're in the type of business where your customers need to remain anonymous, you can still create an anonymous case study. Number 2, genuine testimonials in writing. These are very valuable. Now, I understand if you're a financial advisor, you can't get testimonials in writing, and you can't list customers in a case study. So you would have to talk to prospects about testimonials in terms of anonymous proof points of people having done business with you in similar situations. Number 3, references. If a prospect wants to contact references, do you have 2 or 3 ready to go who would be willing to answer phone calls or emails about their results in having done business with you? References can be closing tools for you. I often don't provide references until the very end of the sales process. Once we get to the end, then I'm willing to provide 2 or 3 references, and it almost always seals the deal. So you should be always working on having references. And eventually your references will tire out, so you need to replace them with new references. After that, could you provide a results guarantee in writing? That's proof, isn't it? We absolutely will get you this, or we will give your money back, or we will do this. What is your guarantee in writing? If you don't have one, consider could you create one? Because there's few proof points that are more compelling than a guarantee in writing of the results that your prospect will get. And then the last one are reviews online. Of course, third-party reviews on sites like Yelp and Amazon and Google are just as important, if not more these days, than your own marketing copy. When I go to Amazon to look for a product, I read the reviews even quicker than I read the marketing print about the product. So these online reviews are very important, and you should be gathering those as often as possible. Last point in the process, if we're so fortunate to actually ask for the business. We've gone all the way through, and now we can ask for the business because we've confidently taken them through the process. We believe that we're a good fit. The other aspects of MADFU are in place, and now we have to ask them if they would like to do business with us. Would they like to sign the contract? Would they like to take the next step? This is a step that is proven to be the #1 closing technique. You'll hear this in lots and lots of other videos, that if there's one closing technique that works above all the others, it's asking for the business. So be sure that you do that, and do it with confidence. Do it with eye contact. Do it with your shoulders back and your head held high, because you feel good about what you're offering them, and you know that you can deliver the results that you've talked about. But just in case they don't buy, then be sure to follow up. I can't tell you how many salespeople I've worked with over the years that are poor at follow-up. And this is in the age of CRM. I mean, we live in a digital age where you can have reminders of follow-up. There's no excuse to be poor at follow-up. And yet I see it. I still see it in 2018, salespeople who aren't good at follow-up. If you feel that you could improve your follow-up, chances are you could. Use a tool, remind yourself. Now for me, here's what I do. I use a CRM tool to remind myself about follow-up. And in that tool, I have the date and even the time as to when I'm going to follow up with a person. And when I see that, I honor it. I have high integrity with myself as to what I put in writing, whether it's digital or in ink. When I tell myself to do something, I honor it. And so I always follow up with a prospect on the day and the time that I say that I'm going to. Because follow-up has made many sales for me. Even though I'd love to have prospects follow up with me and say, hey, Mike, I decided to buy that coaching package that we talked about. And that does happen once in a while, but oftentimes it's because I followed up that I get the sale. And so don't be overconfident and expect that they're going to come back to you. Many times they won't. That doesn't mean they're not willing to buy. Your follow-up is what will make the difference and get more sales. So a few tips for a great process. So as you look through this list, you see right up at the top, don't wing the sales process. Follow a sales process. Write down the steps in your sales process and follow them with fervor. Be excited about your process and methodical and systematic, because you'll find that prospects love a confident salesperson who follows a process. They can see where this is going, and they know clearly you're going to be asking for the business at the end of this process because they can see where it's headed. 2, work with people who want to work with you. This sounds so obvious, and I heard this in an interview with Robert Ringer. And when he first said that, I thought, wow, that is so obvious. That's such a no-brainer. But the more you think about it, the more you realize the wisdom in that statement. We often follow up and chase and pursue prospects who are dodging us, evading us. They're eluding us. They don't want to take our calls. They don't respond to our emails. Doesn't that tell you something? We like to meet prospects halfway, or at least 3/4 of the way. I just told you the follow-up is critically important, but when I follow up, people respond. What that tells me is they're interested in doing business with me. When people don't respond after repeated attempts to contact, and we've had a good initial conversation, they're telling me I don't want to do business with you. Because when you have a solution that solves a real problem that they have, they will respond to you. So think deeply about this. If you initially cast this off as such a throwaway statement that's too obvious, think deeply about what it really means. We talked about objection handling and rehearsing your responses to objections, working with your team. So work with objection handling, super important to the sales process. Don't resist or procrastinate on follow-up, and then learn from your mistakes, right? So on Friday, reflect back on the week. What transpired for you? What can you learn from? In the 3 wins document, I ask you to write that down. In your weekly Friday reflection, you should also write down what you learned so that you can get better week after week. Where does your process need help? We've covered multiple steps in the process, and I told you that I even have more steps that I share in my workshops. Where does your process need help? Be a truth teller. Admit to yourself where you're weak. Face reality. There are certain steps in the process where you're weak, you're stumbling. You need to focus on those steps, improving those steps, because as they say, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. A process is only as strong as its weakest step. What if your weakest step is proof? Get more proof. In the next 60 days, focus on getting a bunch of proof established so that you now don't dodge that step in the process because you don't have any proof. Just focus on those weak links and shore that up. So that's it for part 2 of Sales Training Back to Basics. What have you learned in this class? What's helpful to you? What are you going to apply out of today's class? This video is available to you to watch again and again because we've shared a lot, and chances are it's probably been a little bit overwhelming, especially if you're newer to the game of sales. I have decades of sales experience, and I've trained salespeople for 9 years. So this is fairly routine for me, but it may be new for you. So take the time to go back through this video and watch sections of it and write down those key learnings for you and apply them, then come back and learn some more and apply it. And you'll find that this part 2 of Sales Training Back to Basics could make a real difference for you in your sales career going forward. So I thank you very much for attending today's class, and I'd like to ask you for a favor. If this video has been helpful for you, would you please like the video, comment on it, give it a thumbs up, share the video, subscribe to my channel, write to me and tell me how it's been encouraging and helpful to you, because I love to hear from the people who have watched my video. And I've given you some instruction on how you can get the 3 wins document. So if you'll do these favors for me, then I'd be more than happy to help you to get the 3 wins document. Email me at the address that you see on the screen, and I will send it back to you or a person on my staff. And remember, if you'd like to have that DISC assessment, also use this email to let me know that you'd like to invest in that DISC assessment. So once again, thank you very much, and great selling success may be yours by watching this video, applying it, and watching other videos on this channel. Thank you.